Now broadcasting from his hidden bunker and fully stocked bar, it is the Saturday Report with Colt Sebastian Taylor.
Thank you and welcome once again, my friends, to the Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor, adventurer, entrepreneur, and amateur part-time D&D podcaster. Welcome to AWSM Radio, an independent digital-only radio station that plays today's best music, old school classics, along with a rotating cast of all-star DJs. AWSM Radio focuses on mainstream artists, independent artists, along with a variety of interesting talk and music shows throughout the day. All we do is entertain, inspire, and inform. And my friends, I want you to be part of the conversation as well, so you can find me on the Twitter, on the Rizzle, on the Cameo, and on the Anchor FM at Colt S. Taylor. Follow all my adventures at ColtSebastianTaylor.com, and if you just are not available to catch the show weekly, because, you know, life happens, you can catch the podcast version of the show at Anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor. All right, folks, let's get ready with this week's Saturday Report. But before we get into the news, I have some personal project to let you know about that I have just gotten involved with and enjoyed immensely. So as I mentioned 1 or 2 months ago, the folks at a group called the Nerd Herd hit me up for a cameo. I did a cameo. I said, hey, let me pop in on a Dungeons & Dragons game sometime online. I'd love to make a cameo because I'm doing a cameo right now. Well, I did, and I never left. So I have been playing an online game of Dungeons & Dragons with these folks, and they are now starting to record the sessions and putting them into a podcast version. So, if you would like to hear folks do that, if that's your thing, it's kind of a popular thing, listen to other people play games and whatnot. I know there's something randomly to listen to. There's lots of laughing, there's lots of jokes, and there's lots of, funny little moments. I would encourage you to listen to it. Go to anchor.fm/musty D&D, MUSTY and you can hear me play an online Dungeons & Dragons game. Who am I in this game? Of course, myself, Colt Sebastian Taylor. Yes, I'm playing myself in this game. It is all about branding. So not only should you subscribe to this show, the Saturday Report with Colt Sebastian Taylor, at anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor, you should listen to the Musty Dungeons & Dragons game, also on anchor.fm at anchor.fm/Musty D&D. So you now can hear me up to twice a week on your preferred podcast device. That might be 2 times too many for most people, but not everyone. First up this week, some sad news in the entertainment world. Legendary actor from the golden age of Hollywood, Sidney Poitier, passed away this week at the age of 94. 94, very, very long-lived actor, amazing actor. He was the first male black actor to win the Academy Award for Best Actor in 1964. He had 10 Golden Globe nominations, 2 Primetime Emmy nominations, 6 BAFTA nominations, 8 Laurel nominations, 1 Screen Actors Guild nomination, and he was also the ambassador to Japan for the Bahamas from 1997 to 2007, which I did not know. His entire family was from the Bahamas. However, he was born unexpectedly in Miami, so he automatically was a U.S. citizen. Grew up, for the most part, in the Bahamas, but moved to the New York area when he was a teenager. And he has had a long storied career. Best known for The Defiant Ones in 1958, Porgy and Bess in 1959, A Raisin in the Sun in 1961, Paris Blues in 61, Lilies in the Field in 63, A Patch of Blue in 65, To Sir with Love in the Heat of the Night, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, both in 1967. One of the just all-time great movies, those last two there. He also was very big in the world of civil rights. He was at the Civil Rights March on Washington in 1963. Would have to go into programs and whatnot, talking about civil rights in the 60s and 70s. In the movie Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, 1967, he played one half of an interracial couple, which was, at the time, whoo boy, very, very, very shocking to see on the screen. Today, no one blinks an eye, except if you're like from a rural part of these here United States. But yeah, he was a long-lived actor. He did come back to acting after about a decade off the screen, and his last two movies where he played a character are actually two movies that I do enjoy very much, although, I mean, he's not really well known for them. The last one was The Jackal, with Richard Gere and Bruce Willis, where he played an FBI director. And then the one before that, which I think, again, it is a very underrated movie, and the fact that Sidney Poitier is in this movie makes it even better. Sneakers. It's kind of a crime comedy movie, but check out this cast. Sidney Poitier, obviously, Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, Mary McDowell, River Phoenix, Ben Kingsley, and David Strathairn. That is a star-studded cast. I mean, didn't do that great. Actually made $100 million out of a $20 million budget. Not too shabby. Also, cameo, James Earl Jones is also in that movie too. So I really do suggest you check out that movie because it is really, really good. Like I said, I mean, Sidney Poitier is part of a large cast in that movie, but it's actually I like it. But besides acting, he also was a director. He directed several movies. He directed a few Gene Wilder movies. One with what's his name? Richard Pryor, Stir Crazy. And he also directed several movies where he starred and directed with Bill Cosby. A fun piece of trivia. The last movie that he directed was Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby. Not the best movie. Kind of not great. But anyways, after he retired from acting, he was an ambassador to the Bahamas, as I mentioned. He won the U.S. Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2009, awarded by Barack Obama. He also received an honorary Academy Award by the Academy Awards. Later that ceremony, Denzel Washington won an award for Best Actor, becoming the second black actor to win the Best Actor award after him at the Academy Award. In his speech, which I remember seeing, Washington saluted Poitier by saying, "I'll always be chasing you, Sidney. I'll always be in your footsteps. There's nothing I would rather do, sir." In 2012, just a bit of trivia, with the death of Ernest Borgnine, Poitier became the oldest living recipient for the Academy Award for Best Actor. And, so he has had a long career. In 2021, the Academy dedicated the lobby of its new Academy Award Museum of Motion Pictures in Los Angeles as the Sidney Poitier Grand Lobby in his honor. Anyway, Sidney Poitier, legendary actor, passed away at the age of 94 this week. I suggest you check out some of his old movies. And also check out Sneakers, because that's a really good movie too. Moving along to entertainment and music. Depending on how old you are, you may remember an album in 1991 from Nirvana called Nevermind. It's one of their most famous albums, and the album cover is a picture of a naked baby swimming through a swimming pool, chasing after a dollar bill on a hook and whatnot. Well, that baby is now 30-some years old, named Spencer Eldon, and he was suing Nirvana in the estate of Kurt Cobain for money because he felt that he was taken advantage of as a 4-month-old and wants money. His attorney alleged in the original complaint that the money in the photo made his client look like a sex worker, grabbing for a dollar bill that positioned dangling from a fishhook in front of his nude body with his penis explicitly displayed. It's hard for me to take this seriously. So anyway, he wants money from Nirvana because he feels that it has it has negatively impacted him over the last 30 years being associated with that photo. Although, tell you what, like, I don't even know who this guy's name is, and obviously he's a baby back then, so I wouldn't know him if I saw him on the street. I guess if you're super fans of Nirvana, that would be what you want. Well, anyways, he was asking for at least $100,000 from each of the defendants, including surviving band members Dave Grohl, Chris Novoselsky, Courtney Love, Kurt Cobain's widow, and the executor of his estate, Guy Osbury, and Heather Perry, the managers of Cobain's estate, photographer Kurt Weddle, art director Robert Fisher, and a number of existing or defunct record companies that released or distributed the album in the last 3 decades. So he won $100,000 from a dozen or so people. The original drummer, Chad Channing, was also named the defendant, although Dave Grohl had replaced him by the time this was shot. So not a super researched lawsuit, I guess you could say. But anyways, the judge dismissed it, threw it out, saying that, it's kind of not a legitimate lawsuit and whatnot. Weddle, who was friends with this guy's father, took the pictures in an Olympic-sized swimming pool in the 1991, and the family was paid about $200. According to Weddle, from a 2008 NPR, Weddle calls up, was like, "Hey Rick, you want to make $200 by throwing your kid in the drink?" He said, I was like, "What's up?" And he was like, "Well, I'm shooting kids all week. Why don't you meet me at the Rose Bowl and throw your kid in the drink? And we'll have a big old party at the pool." No one had any idea what was going on. So, the lawsuit says neither him nor his guardian signed a release authorizing the use of the image. Funny to mention, though, Eldon has repeatedly recreated the pose as a teenager and as an adult, wearing swim trunks, celebrating the album's 10th, 17th, 20th, and 25th anniversaries. So, he doesn't like it, but he'll take pictures of it wearing swim trunks later, I'm sure for a nominal fee. But with that said, he had most interviews coming to the photo shoots. He expressed mixed feelings about being famous because of the cover. I'm just guessing, maybe perhaps, some lawyer said to him, "Hey, we should sue these people. They're rich. $150,000, that's nothing to them. Get 10, 20, 30 people, that's like $3 million. They won't want to bother to go to court." Well, good luck, buddy. I hope you don't get stuck with attorney fees from 10, 20, or 30 other entities. Moving along to health news, 90 Day Fiancé star Stephanie Matto was rushed to the hospital this week. She's okay. For those 90 Day Fiancé fans out there, you're probably saying to yourself, well, gosh, that Omicron, that's really starting to get people that I know and I love. The 90 Day Fiancé, we need to make sure they're okay. No, don't worry. It's not COVID stuff. It's farts. Yes, you heard me right, folks. It was a fart-related hospital run. Oh, well, gosh, that happens to the best of us. Well, let's get a little more details here. So, Stephanie Matto has 100,000 followers. And she sells something to those people. Her farts. Yes, she sells her farts in a jar. So she will fart in a jar, stop it up, and mail it out. Gosh, you probably ask yourself, how much would you want to pay for this pungent delivery through the U.S. mail? You probably think to yourself, $20. No, $40. No, I will pay $100 for a fart in a jar. Some people are paying $1,000 for a fart in a jar. And she was, at her tip-top peak tooting, making over $38,000 a week selling these jars online to different people. Well, supply and demand, it can be intense. So she had to at one point during her career here, she had to produce 50 jars of farts a week. Now listen, I am a noted tutor. So is my father, who's probably listening to this podcast. 50 a week is a tall, stinky order. So to make ends meet, she had to get, working. So she consumed 3 protein shakes and a big old bowl of black bean soup in one day. And then she started having trouble breathing. She felt a pinching sensation around her heart and chest, so she rushed herself to the hospital. She did not tell the doctors that what she did for a living. She just said, well, I had this. They said, oh, well, that's just severe gas pains. You need to, not do the 3 protein shakes and a black bean soup. There's your problem. There's your problem, buddy. Get your black bean soup gas going there. That's my Connecticut accent. And she's from Connecticut. And so she changed her diet and has, much to the relief of her family, given up the wild world of selling farts in jars. I mean, I've been giving them away for free for years. I'm a fool. But now she's going to be making other money. No, she's not going to be, it's not stink related, but she is now going to be selling digital artwork on the blockchain. The NFTs, NTFs, I don't know what they're called. She's selling those now. So you can have piece of the blockchain art all for yourself instead of I would imagine, a yellow-green tinish jar of stank from Miss Stephanie Matto. So with that said, there's a 100,000 folks out there who just lost their dealer. I mean, if you're the supplier, if you're the supply, don't deny. Is that how it goes? The denier is the supplier? Anyways, she'll find, and parts of Connecticut probably are spelling much better today. Now, speaking of tunes, not toots, what doesn't stink is my good friend DC. It's always sounds and smells great. And his show, DC Live in Effect, is right here on AWSM Radio. He is our in-house DJ, and he mixes it up every Friday at 9 p.m., Sundays at 10 p.m. You, my friends, do not want to miss out while he smashes it up on the ones and twos, kicking the beats from South Florida here on AWSM Radio. So catch DC Live in Effect Fridays at 9, Sundays at 10, right here on AWSM Radio. We now go to the wild world of sports in Australia, where COVID-19 and tennis have collided. World-class tennis player Novak Djokovic, I don't know, traveled from, I believe, the Serbia area to Australia to play in the Australia Open. And when he left on Tuesday this week, he was grinning very slyly, saying he had a medical exemption from the vaccine mandate to go to Australia, saying that the vaccination status was a private matter that he didn't want to discuss. Well, the Australian government said, hey, you can't come here without a vaccine. And they said, hey, you can't come here without a vaccine. Well, I guess they didn't get to the visa folks, because they granted him a visa. He came, and they said, whoa, you vaccinated? And he went, no, I am not I don't know what he sounds like, but no, I am not vaccinated. All right, well, you are detained. And so now he is staying at an immigration COVID hotel where some people have been there for years waiting for their cases, and he is in the active process of being deported. So he went all the way to Australia, got detained for not having a vaccination, and is now being sent back to Serbia, probably. And you know what? He should be. Those are the rules in Australia. If you're going to be moseying on in, you got to have a vaccine. And a lot of people, it's a little bit divided in Australia. There's some, I guess you could say, some unrest down there about the vaccine mandates and whatnot. In some parts of Australia, if you don't have a vaccine, you are not allowed to travel more than 30 kilometers from your house, and only then to go to, get something to eat or shop. And you're almost not. I believe at some point you're not going to be allowed to work unless you have a vaccine. In some parts of rural Australia, and they don't like that a athlete gets special treatment down there, and a lot of people are upset about that. So more than likely, I mean, he's going to get kicked out and sent back to Europe. Another star from Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic, sorry, Czechoslovakia doesn't exist anymore. The Czech Republic, a female tennis star, she got detained and probably going to be sent back because she had a medical exemption because she had COVID within the last 6 months and therefore has apparently antibodies, according to some research, but that's not good enough for Australia, and they're going to send her back as well. And another part of this that's interesting is that this Novak guy, he's staying at a hotel where a lot of immigrants who've been picked up are staying, waiting for their cases to be heard, whether they can stay or be deported. Some folks there have been there for years. His deportation case has been fast-tracked as well. And, so he's likely to be kicked out, but some folks there want to make an example of him because he knowingly came down here without a vaccine when he knows that he shouldn't be going down there with a vaccine. So there's some back and forth right now about whether or not he's going to get punished or not. We'll have to see about that. I'm not so sure whether they'll give him a little slap on the wrist or just kick him out. But yeah. So also, he has not done much to make himself look good as well. So he's complaining about the food. In the last 24 hours, he requested that if he could rent out a large apartment for himself and his coaches and his trainers while waiting for his case as a way to as a way to train because he's confident he'll be allowed to play. And then I guess there's one thing about him is he really doesn't know how to read a room very well. In fact, his lawyer tried to hurry up the proceedings, saying Tennis Australia needed to know by Tuesday whether he could play or not, and which was kind of a lie. Australia doesn't care that much. Tennis Australia doesn't care that much. If they need to replace him, they'll be able to replace him. So we'll see what happens to Novak here, whether he gets detained for longer or sent back into Europe. But even if you're going to go to Australia, tennis stars, you need to get your shots. In other COVID-19 news, French crypto meme twin brothers, yes, crypto meme twin brothers, Grachinka Bogdanov and Igor Bogdanov both died from COVID-19 days from each other at the age of 72. Both, surprise, surprise, had refused to get vaccinated. I had been moderately aware of these two folks because I thought their faces were photoshopped. They have really high jawbones to the point where it almost like they almost could close their eyes. They denied having any plastic surgery, but you look at them and you're like, yeah, you might have had some work done in the way of like building the Hoover Dam was work done a bit in that area of land. But they were, I guess, celebrities and whatnot. They went to stardom in the late 70s, early 80s with a show called Temps X, kind of like a science pop show. Last year they were sued by a millionaire named Cyril P, saying that the twins had tricked him, defrauded him of hundreds of thousands of dollars. They were born in 1949, denoted from German and Austrian nobility, as it were. And they were raised by their grandmother, Countess Bertha Kowalski-Krakowska, whose scandalous affair with Ronald Hayes, the first black American to attain international fame as a classic musician, produced the twins' mother. So guess that's where they got that from. Well, anyways, they applied to study at the Institute of Political Science as well as various other French schools. They found a niche for themselves as writers, producers, and presenters of the Temps X, like I said, which ran from 1979 into the mid-'80s. They first started going into controversy in 1991 with the publication of the book Deut et la Science, God and Science. And it became a French bestseller, but a University of Virginia professor said that much of the book was plagiarized from some of his work. They settled out of court, and then they began to work on their doctorates to become doctors. So they had to defend their thesis and publish 5 articles in several peer-reviewed physical journals, and they both were able to do it, passing with the lowest grade possible. So they apparently thought they were Einsteins, but they were not that deep in terms of scientific knowledge. The advisor, Dr. Daniel Sternheimer, told the Times in 2002 that teaching the brother was like teaching My Fair Lady to speak with an Oxford accent. So their papers, published in journals like the Annals of Physics, claimed, among other things, to know what happened before and after the Big Bang. That was disputed a bit. In fact, some people say that they just threw together a bunch of buzzwords and weren't really saying anything. But with that said, they still got their doctorates. According to Dr. Sternheimer, he said, these guys worked for 10 years without pay. They have a right to have their work recognized with a diploma, which is nothing much these days. So, boy, talk about a guy who's just given up on his work completely. So, anyways, they moved along a bit. Years later, they looked way different. Both have denied they had plastic surgery, but they began to popping up on Reddit in 2015. They said, well, not they did, but people used their faces and likenesses in Reddit in 2015 and began to come up with wild conspiracy theories that they had psychic powers and that they could control the cryptocurrency market. And then, last year, with the brothers said that he had developed the source code for Bitcoin. And they also claimed that Satoshi Nakamoto, the assumed name of the person who first created Bitcoin, had given them 2 ancient Bitcoins in physical form. For those who don't know what Bitcoin is, that's basically saying that Dan Rather gave you radio in the form of a coin. Radio waves. It's just not a thing. Anyways, the editor of the French news site Decrypt at the time said, in terms of credibility, they are the equivalent to the scientific version of the Kardashian family. Anyways, these 2 brothers, age 72, their psychic cryptocurrency powers were not able to defeat COVID-19. A vaccine might have, but their psychic powers did not. Both passed away. It was reported this week, but they actually passed away in late December at the age of 72 each, because they're twin brothers, due to COVID-19. We now go to Italy for more COVID-19 news, where the government has passed a mandate that everyone over 50 years old must get the COVID-19 vaccine. If you don't, then you are not allowed to leave your house or to work, so you got to get it. This, despite the fact that Italy's government is notoriously divided with, I think there's at least a dozen political parties. Basically, there's a new Italian government every 18 to 20 months. This was unanimously agreed by all political parties in Italy to do this. Basically, the Italian Prime Minister said, we want to restrict the movement of unvaccinated people as much as possible because the unvaccinated folks are the ones who are burdening the hospital system. Omicron has swept through Italy and driving up deaths, which had pretty much under control, but has driven up deaths quite a bit there. So now they have now made a rule saying that you have to have the vaccine if you are over 50 years old in Italy. There are similar laws going into effect. Germany is currently considering one. Let's see here. There are, France said that he wants to make the lives of unvaccinated people difficult because they are making things tough for everyone else by filling up hospitals with infections and whatnot. Austria is thinking about doing the same thing. In Greece, they will start fining citizens over the age of 60, starting January 15th. Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis, which I'm probably not saying right, said 90% of the COVID-19 deaths in Greece were elderly, unvaccinated citizens. So they want to knock that down, and so they are mandating vaccines. Now, I'm going to get off my soapbox right now, as it were. I'm fine with this. I really am. It's been 2 years, and we're still not out of this, and a lot of it is being driven. By unvaccinated people. Now, the argument is like, hey, listen, if you're vaccinated, and I'm not vaccinated, why are you concerned? If you're vaccinated, you're protected. Well, once again, my room temperature IQ slack-jawed yokel friends who don't quite have enough IQ points to decorate a domino, that's not the point. Here's the point. If you get sick, you go to the hospital. You're taking up hospital resources. When I had my severe nerve pain 2 weeks ago, I could have gone to the emergency room or the hospital, but I had to go to the urgent care. There's a 2-day wait to get a bed at an emergency room in the area. Why? Because of unvaccinated COVID people. That's why. In a hospital near me, there's like a 1 to 10 ratio of people in the hospital, vaccinated versus unvaccinated. There is a 1 to 20 ratio of folks in intensive care, vaccinated and unvaccinated, and like a 1 to 40 ratio of folks on a ventilator, of vaccinated and unvaccinated. If you're vaccinated, might you end up on a ventilator and die? Sure, it might happen, yes. But it's 40 times more likely to happen if you're unvaccinated. And those resources, my friends, aren't just lying around. People are falling off of roofs. They're having heart attacks. They're having strokes. They're getting car accidents. The system is gummed up. Okay? The health system is gummed up by people refusing to get vaccinated because some dumb uncle on Facebook posted some Facebook meme from the former host of Fear Factor, and I'm like, I would rather not. They've got treatments, I'd rather not. I'd much rather have a $3,000 antibody microbial thingamajiggy injection as opposed to a free vaccine. So, yes, I am all right with making mandates for this vaccine. And we're going to get to that point, folks. We're going to get to that point. And listen, for the folks like, well, if they make this happen, what do you think they're going to be able to do in the future? Well, you know what? If you're really concerned about that, you might want to get on board with this before they make you do something that you really don't want to do. And then I'll point to this as being the precedent to do it. So, once again, folks, get your vaccines. And if you're going overseas, you might as well just cancel your trip now because a lot of these countries, in about 3 or 4 months, they're not going to let you in unless you're vaccinated. They also have had enough of this as well. So, do yourself a favor, protect your friends and family, get your shots. Speaking of soapboxes, another soapbox I refuse to get off of is my recommendation for the rock sessions. That's right, I'm just as passionate about our drive time show here at AWSM Radio. And my friend Rox, the fantastic, lovely, delightfully charming Rox, will make sure that your evening commute home is fun and entertaining. Featuring the hottest music on the charts and some other surprises in between, she will make it rock style, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., right here on AWSM Radio. You want to make the rock sessions the part of your evening commute home. It'll make it go so much smoother, no matter how much traffic you may or may not encounter. So listen to the rock sessions, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., right here on AWSM Radio. Next up, folks, we go to the world of comics. That's right, a rare first edition Incredible Hulk became the most expensive comic ever sold for almost $500,000, $490,000. It was Hulk #1, published in 1962. It was bought by a private collector. Comic Connect, an auction site that handled the sale, said it was the most expensive copy of the first Hulk story ever told. So I don't know if it was the most expensive one ever sold. There was the most expensive Hulk comic ever sold. There we are. It was created by Hulk was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. It reveals the Hulk's origin story. In case you've missed all the movies, it's when Bruce Banner was exposed to toxic gamma radiations, and he transforms into the Hulk when he loses his temper and whatnot. However, in the first comic version of the Hulk, he was gray. And they switched to green in the second issue. Why? In the printing process, it took 4 colors to make the gray. It's a 4-color printing process to make that gray color. And the gray wasn't consistent on all the pages. He would be different shades of gray on different pages. And so they changed it to green, which is easier for them to do. And he's been green ever since. So the first Hulk comic, he turned into a gray Hulk. But that was really hard for printers to do in 1962. So changed him to gray. According to the Vincent Zorolo, he said that this was a very fine, near mint gray condition of the comic. Highly graded copies of Hulk #1 are notoriously hard to find due to the cheap paper used and smudging of the gray color on the front cover. They think that this comic will continue to gain in value. Vintage comic book values just keep going up. So, yeah, but no, he was not the most expensive comic ever sold. It was the most expensive Hulk comic ever sold. In September, a 1962 comic, Amazing Fantasy #15, in which Spider-Man made his debut, sold for $3.6 million. So the Hulk does have a little ways to go to beat Spider-Man in terms of prices and whatnot, but very impressive for the Green Hulk. Gray at first, but then the Green Hulk. Speaking of shining brightly, my friends, if you need a one-stop sports show to listen to week in and week out, you need to listen to Married to the Game. It is our radio show. Well, it's a radio show, obviously, but it's our sports radio show here on AWSM Radio. It features the sports cornucopia of knowledge from the likes of Brian, Joe, and Mac Daddy. They're going to bring their insights, their analytics, their expertise to the table on all things sports every week, and of course, a little bit of trash talk. Otherwise, what kind of sports show would it be without a little trash talk? So tune in to catch up on all things sports and follow them on Instagram. Joe at Turn Up the Jets, Nick at the Mac Daddy Ryan Show, Brian at Bolstered_up_sports, and the show Married to the Game, MTTG Radio on Instagram. Listen to Married to the Game, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. right here on AWSM Radio. It is definitely a show you should listen to. Well, my friends, we have just about come to the end of the Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you have enjoyed yourselves just as much as I have. And remember, you can find me on the Twitter, on the Rizzle, on the Instagram, and on the Cameo at Colt S. Taylor. If you have missed this show, you just came at the very end, you can listen to the podcast version of the show. It's generally published on the Sundays around noon or 1 p.m. at anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor. And don't forget, you can hear my wonderful, beautiful, deep, soothing, totally not annoying voice on a new Dungeons & Dragons podcast, anchor.fm/MustyD&D, where I play myself, Colt Sebastian Taylor. It's a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy it, especially if you like my sense of humor. I put a lot of jokes in there. And of course, if you haven't already, follow ColtSebastianTaylor.com for all things Colt as well. You should bookmark that right after you bookmark AWSM Radio on your website browser. All right, my fantastic friends, for the second show of 2022. I hope you're well. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're fantastic. Until next time, I'm Colt Sebastian Taylor, and I'll see you later.